A lot of us want to learn new things and develop amazing new skills, but often we struggle with motivation. That leads us to an important question. Why is it so hard to just start? Well, let's begin by talking about procrastination. Because if you're here to learn something new, chances are you're already putting it off. And there's actually a reason for that. Believe it or not, learning something new creates stress in your brain. It activates the same area that's triggered by physical pain. That's why just thinking about studying or trying something unfamiliar can make you anxious, because your brain interprets it as discomfort. So, how do we deal with that? The answer is surprisingly simple. Just start. Really, just take the first step. It sounds too easy, but it's powerful. You need to learn how to take initiative, because waiting for the right mood or perfect moment doesn't work. The truth is, no one can do it for you. And once you begin, that stress, the pain and discomfort, starts to fade. You move through it, and suddenly you're not afraid anymore. You've entered what I like to call the learning zone. And the more you do this, just push past that initial resistance, the easier it gets each time. But of course, that's only the first challenge. But then comes the next hurdle. Once you've started doing something, say, you're learning a new skill, you'll probably run into some challenges. And right at that moment, your brain might look for an easy escape. You'll get frustrated, maybe something doesn't go as planned, and suddenly you find yourself scrolling on your phone or watching videos instead. Why does that happen? It's because your brain is wired to seek rewards, and when you hit a wall and don't get the result you expected, your mind wants a quick win. So it goes for something easier, something like Instagram, TikTok, or video games. These offer fast, easy dopamine hits. They're fun in the moment, but they don't move you closer to your bigger goals. This is when you need to remember to take initiative again. Remind yourself that short-term satisfaction feels good now, but it fades quickly. What you're doing through studying, practice, or learning may not feel as thrilling in the moment, but it builds something lasting. It leads to real, long-term satisfaction. And honestly, that's the game changer. Understanding that it's okay to get distracted sometimes, but you can always come back. You can start again. Every time you do, you're training your brain to choose effort over ease. That's how real growth happens. At a biological level, it's your brain creating and strengthening connections between cells called neurons. These neurons communicate through pathways called synapses. And every time you learn something new, your brain forms more of these synaptic connections. You're literally reshaping your brain. Here's the good news. There's no hard limit to how much you can learn. You won't ever run out of space in your brain. You're not going to hit a point where your mind says, "Oops, storage full." But this process does require time and repetition. You can't just cram everything in at once and expect it to stick. Your brain needs time to process, organize, and consolidate what you're learning. That's why repetition is so important. It helps reinforce the new connections, so they don't fade. And just as important as repetition is rest. Sleep, especially, plays a critical role in learning. During sleep, other forms of rest help too. Physical movement, like going for a walk or exercising, can stimulate new neurons and improve mental clarity. Social interaction is also powerful. It keeps your brain engaged, flexible, and emotionally balanced. So don't underestimate the power of rest. True learning doesn't just happen during the work, it also happens during the breaks. No matter how many videos you watch, books you read, or people you admire, real learning only happens when you do it yourself. Watching someone else paint doesn't make you a painter. Hearing someone play music doesn't give you the ability to play. True understanding doesn't come from observing, it comes from doing. A huge part of learning is problem solving. And if you're not solving problems yourself, you're not actually learning. You might think you understand something just because you've seen it done 100 times. But that illusion fades quickly the moment you try to do it alone and realize you don't really know what you're doing. That's why doing, even badly at first, is essential. Your mistakes are not signs of failure. They're the brain's way of saying, "Okay, let's figure this out." Learning is clumsy, awkward, slow, and sometimes frustrating. But you have to go through that, because it's the only way to get to the other side. You can't download mastery. You earn it. One attempt, one mistake, one breakthrough at a time. When you're learning something new, especially something complex, it's easy to get lost in the details. You zoom in so close that you lose sight of the bigger picture. But the truth is, if all you see are tiny parts, you'll never understand the whole. Let's say you're learning to draw. If you only focus on the way the eyelashes curve or the subtle shading of a cheek, but ignore the structure of the face, you'll be frustrated. You'll feel like you're doing everything right, but still not improving. This applies to anything. When you start learning guitar, you don't need to master every chord variation in one week. You need to strum, to play messy songs, to have fun. You need to get the idea of music under your skin before diving into the micro details of theory. Learning starts with the big picture, the central concept. Once that clicks, then the smaller pieces start to fall into place. Details matter, but only after you've built something to hang them on. Here's a truth that might be hard to hear. If you want to really remember something, you have to test yourself. You have to put yourself in a situation where you don't have the answers in front of you. You have to try to recall what you know and see where it falls apart. It's uncomfortable, it exposes gaps, but it works. Because when you see what's missing, you know exactly what to go back and study. And when you correct a mistake, that correction sticks so much better than passive repetition. This is why mistakes are not enemies of learning. They're proof that you're actually trying. Every error is a guidepost. Every time you get something wrong, your brain is building new connections. Failure isn't a sign to quit, it's the path you're meant to walk. So don't avoid mistakes. Don't fear testing yourself. Lean into it. The only way to grow is by seeing where you are now and using that to move forward. Sometimes procrastination doesn't come from laziness. It comes from being overwhelmed. You've got this huge dream. Maybe it's drawing like a master, writing a novel, composing a song, and then you look at yourself and think, I'm so far away from that. What's the point? The point is this: no one gets there in one leap. Everyone starts with a first step. The people you admire, the artists, the thinkers, the innovators, they weren't born ready. So maybe today, you're not ready to write a symphony, but you can download a music app and play with some notes. You can hum something, record it, and call it your first idea. That's real. That's movement. That's progress. The key isn't to be perfect. The key is to have the initiative. That's the real talent. Showing up, making time, daring to be bad at something long enough to become good. So stop waiting for the perfect mood or the perfect day. It won't come. But your next step, it's already waiting for you.